Kaya wasn't looking for miracles that day. She just wanted the pain to stop. The insults, the losses, the disappointments. But as she sat on the ground crying, clutching her empty cooler, a shadow fell over her. She looked up, and there he was, the billionaire she thought she would never meet again, and the last man she expected to offer her a new life.
The perfume section of Lumiera Luxury was quiet, too quiet for a Saturday. Kaya stood behind the counter, tying her braids into a neat knot. She had worked there for only 3 months, but she carried herself with a quiet dignity that made customers trust her instantly. She never rushed anyone, never raised her voice, never made anyone feel less. That's why today cut so deeply. Selena Arinze swept into the store like a gust of expensive perfume. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor. Her designer sunglasses still on indoors. Her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "You," she snapped, pointing at Kaya without even looking at her properly. "Bring me the limited edition Rouge Lumiera, the one behind the locked shelf. Quickly, I don't have all day." Kaya smiled politely. "Of course, ma'am. Just a moment." But Selena wasn't done. "You could at least move faster. My God, why do they hire slow people for premium stores? Is it charity?" Customers turned. Kaya's throat tightened, but she kept her calm. It wasn't the first rude customer she'd served, but something in Selena's tone made her heart sink deeper than usual. "Ma'am, I promise I will attend to you properly," Kaya said softly. Selena scoffed. "I doubt that. You look like someone who can't even afford the product she's touching."
Just then, the door opened, and in walked Darian Cole, the billionaire everyone whispered about. But he wasn't dressed like one. A simple shirt, rolled-up sleeves, and the tired look of a man searching for peace. Selena's tone changed instantly. "Baby!" she squealed, throwing her arms around him. But Darian didn't return the excitement. His eyes were fixed on Kaya. There was something familiar in her calmness, something he didn't see in Selena anymore. "What's wrong?" he asked Kaya softly. Before Kaya could speak, Selena cut in. "Oh, nothing. Just a rude, slow attendant. You really need to tell this store to train their staff better." Kaya's jaw tightened, not because of the insult, but because she didn't want trouble. "I'm okay, sir," she said softly. But Darian had already seen everything. He turned to Selena. "You insulted her?" "Excuse me?" Selena blinked. He walked closer to Kaya, lowering his voice. "Are you all right?" "Yes, sir," Kaya said, forcing a smile. "I'm used to it." Something shifted in Darian's eyes. Anger, disappointment, clarity. He turned to Selena with a voice colder than marble. "If you can insult a woman who is just doing her job, a woman who has shown nothing but respect, then maybe we shouldn't be discussing a wedding." Selena froze. "Darian, wait! You can't be serious. She's a nobody." Kaya flinched. Darian's expression hardened. "That nobody has more dignity than you've shown today." The store went silent. Selena laughed in disbelief. "So you're choosing a shock girl over me?" Darian stepped beside Kaya. "No," he said calmly. "I'm choosing character over cruelty." Selena's face fell. And for the first time that day, Kaya looked Darian in the eyes, surprised, grateful, and completely unsure of what this moment meant. But he knew. He had just discovered something rare, something real. And the woman who possessed it had no idea. She had just changed the course of his life.
Selena's face hardened as the whispers around her grew louder. She hated humiliation, but what she hated more was being corrected in public. And in her mind, Kaya had become the cause of all this. She forced a smile, grabbed her purse, and marched out of the store, but not before shooting Kaya a look filled with icy hatred. Kaya exhaled shakily, steadying her hands on the counter. She had endured insults before, but something about this one lingered like smoke in her chest. Maybe because it came from someone who clearly knew nothing about struggle, yet wielded power like a weapon. Darian lingered at the door before leaving. "If anyone speaks to you like that again," he said softly, "walk away. Your peace is worth more than a seal." Kaya nodded, her throat tight. "Thank you, sir." And then he left, unaware that fate was quietly weaving their lives together. Selena had barely reached her car before she pulled out her phone, her fury boiling over. "Get me the manager of Lumiere Luxury," she snapped to her personal assistant. 30 seconds later, the line connected. "This is Mr. Thompson, manager. How may I—" "Fire her." "Madam, who?" "The useless attendant with the braids. Fire her today, or I swear on my name I will never shop in your store again, and neither will any woman with class." The manager froze. Lumiere Luxury relied heavily on wealthy socialites like Selena. Her influence was powerful, dangerous. "Madam, please calm down." "Fire her." The call ended. Mr. Thompson sank into his chair, massaging his temples. He liked Kaya. She was respectful, hardworking, and unproblematic. But he also knew the power Selena held among the wealthy elite. One angry word from her could cut their sails in half. He sighed deeply. And just like that, Kaya's fate was sealed.
The next morning, Kaya came early, as usual, humming softly as she arranged perfume bottles. But the moment she saw the manager walking toward her with a forced smile, a cold fear gripped her chest. "Kaya, can we speak?" Her heart dropped. She knew that tone. She had heard it once before, years ago, when a previous employer had let her go because she did not fit the image. She followed him into the tiny office. "I'm afraid," he began, refusing to meet her eyes. "Your services will no longer be needed." Kaya blinked. "Sir? Did I do something wrong?" "No," he said quickly. "No, Kaya. You've been an excellent staff, one of the best. But a high-profile client made a complaint. She threatened to damage our reputation." Kaya closed her eyes for a moment. She didn't need to ask who. I need this job," Kaya whispered. "My rent is due, my mother's meds." "I am truly sorry," the manager said, his voice cracking. "My hands are tied. You'll get 2 weeks' pay." 2 weeks' pay wouldn't last 4 days. Kaya bit her lip to stop it from trembling. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Kaya had never known how loud the world could be until she found herself outside under the blazing afternoon sun, carrying a cooler box filled with pure water sachets. Her first day on the street felt like stepping into another universe. People brushed past her, cars honked like angry beasts, hawkers cut across the road with impossible speed. The city moved like it didn't have time for anyone's pain. Kaya pulled her mother's old scarf tighter around her head and whispered to herself, "Just start, one day at a time." The little severance money the store gave her had gone straight into buying her first cooler, 2 packs of pure water, and a small umbrella she stuck into the soil by the roadside. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't what she dreamed of, but was what she had. "Pure water! Cold pure water!" she called out, her voice shaky at first, but growing louder as the hours passed. Sometimes people ignored her. Sometimes they shooed her away. Sometimes they bought, and she smiled as if they had handed her gold. By the second week, she added soft drinks. By the third, small snacks, chin-chin, gala, donuts wrapped in nylon. She created her own tiny roadside empire. Every evening, no matter how tired, she stopped at Baba Toby's local contribution shed. She would wipe sweat from her forehead, straighten her back, and drop 1,000 naira with the elderly man.
It will all add up one day, she told herself. Then one Thursday evening, 3 months later, she had gone as usual to drop money with the elderly man. But as she reached the contribution shed, a crowd had gathered. People were shouting. Some were crying. A woman was beating her chest in anguish. Kaya's heart dropped. She pushed forward softly. "Please, what happened?" A man turned to her, eyes red. "Baba Toby, don't run. He run with everybody money." No, sir, that's not possible. He can't run with my money. It's 3 months. 3 months of... Another person yelled, "My 45,000 naira is gone, no. My whole savings. He fooled all of us." Kaya stared blankly at the empty shed. Her bucket slipped from her hand, crashing on the ground, and she fell to her knees. It wasn't a beautiful fall. It was messy, painful, desperate. She sobbed the way a child cries when life feels too big, too unfair, too merciless. Her palms hit the dusty ground as she cried, "Why? Why does this keep happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why is life like this?" No one helped her. They were all too busy drowning in their own losses. Her tears soaked into the dust until she couldn't cry anymore. Only small, shaky breaths came out. But life doesn't pause because someone is breaking.
The next morning, she was back on the streets. It was her lowest point. The sun was wicked that day, hot, unforgiving. Even the tar on the road looked like it was melting. But Kaya carried her cooler like every other day. Some bought, some ignored. Some negotiated aggressively as though she owed them something. Around 2 p.m., a coaster bus pulled up. The driver took water. The conductor took 2 soft drinks. A passenger grabbed snacks from her tray. Kaya smiled politely. That would be 1,700 naira. Before she could protest, the bus zoomed off.
Her heart fell. "Hey, you haven't paid me!" She ran after the moving bus in desperation. Her slippers slapped the ground hard. Her cooler swung painfully from her arm. Her breath tore from her lungs. But the bus kept going. She slowed, stopped, and the world blurred. Her legs buckled under her. She fell to her knees again, but this time not from emotional pain alone. She was tired, too tired. Life had squeezed her dry.
Cars passed. People walked by. Nobody stopped.
Until one car did. A sleek black SUV pulled up right in front of her. The door opened. Footsteps approached.
Kaya heard a familiar voice call out her name. It was gentle, deep, and filled with shock. She froze. Then slowly she lifted her head. Standing before her was Darian Cole, the billionaire from the store, the man whose eyes had seen her pain even when she tried to hide it. In that moment, their worlds collided again, and this time, he wasn't going to walk away. He knelt beside her. "Kaya," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "What happened to you?" Her lips trembled. She tried to speak, but only tears answered. He helped her to her feet. Her body was trembling, weak from days of struggle, but her eyes, though red and swollen, still held that quiet strength he had noticed in the store. "Come with me," he said. His voice was steady but firm. "I can't just leave you here like this." Kaya shook her head. "No, sir. I don't want to trouble you. This is my life. I have to survive on my own." "You're not troubling me. You're too special for anyone to ignore your talent," he interrupted. Something inside her shifted. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was hope. She nodded, allowing him to lead her into the SUV, away from the harsh streets that had been her home for months. "What happened to your job?" he asked as they drove through the busy road. His voice was gentle, but filled with anger on her behalf. Kaya looked away. "I was sacked." "Because of Selena?" She didn't answer, but that was enough.
Darian didn't take her to a hotel. He didn't take her to his mansion either. He drove her to a quiet restaurant near the lagoon, a calm, breezy place where the world always felt slower. "Eat," he said, placing food in front of her. Kaya's hands shook as she lifted the spoon. He watched her, not with pity, but with a kind of admiration that made her cheeks warm. "You shouldn't be on the street," he said softly. She froze. "I don't have a choice." "Then let me give you one." She stared at him, unsure. Darian leaned forward. "Have you ever considered modeling?" Kaya nearly choked on her water. "Me? Model? Sir, not at all. I don't think I can do it." "Why not?" "You have the presence, you have the beauty, and I have the connection you need. Trust me, I know talent when I see it." Her heart hammered. "Let me make one call." The next day, they were at the agency. It looked like a place she could only imagine. Glass doors, bright lights, tall women who looked like they stepped out of fashion magazines. But Darian placed a reassuring hand on Kaya's back. "You belong here." The creative director, a sharp-eyed woman named Mirembe, circled Kaya like she was inspecting a rare gemstone. "You've worked before?" Kaya shook her head. Mirembe nodded slowly. "Good, you're raw. We can work with raw." The first photo shoot was awkward. Kaya kept apologizing for blinking, for standing wrong, for breathing loudly. "Relax," the photographer laughed. "We are capturing the real you, not perfection." And slowly, Kaya bloomed. The camera loved her. Her natural innocence, her quiet strength, her expressive eyes. Within months, she was on the cover of 2 magazines. Brands requested her face. She walked her first runway in a beaded gown that made her feel like she finally stepped into the life she once only watched from afar.
Selena, Darian's ex, watched Kaya's rise like a volcano waiting to erupt. She couldn't believe Kaya, the ordinary store attendant, could rise above her. She read the headlines again, this time slowly. Darian Cole seen with rising model Kaya, bright, new couple. Selena Arinze, billionaire heir, moves on dramatically. She felt betrayed, stabbed. She couldn't stand it. If she couldn't have Darian, no one else would. She vowed to destroy Kaya and Darian. At a major photo shoot, a lighting stand mysteriously fell, landing inches from Kaya's shoulders. Electric wires sparked. Chaos erupted. Kaya's chest tightened. Mirembe stormed in. "This couldn't have been an accident," she said. "Someone had loosened the bolts intentionally." Kaya shook but held her chin high. "No matter what it is, I won't stop," she said. Darian came rushing in, face pale with worry. He pulled her into an embrace and cameras flashed instantly. The pictures spread like wildfire. Selena's rage intensified. Soon, fake accounts began calling Kaya a gold digger, a street hawker pretending to be classy. Rumors spread that she seduced Darian for his money. Kaya cried silently in her room. But every time she wanted to disappear, Darian's message arrived. "Ignore them. I see you. That's all that matters."
Then the biggest night of Kaya's career came. She was headlining a major fashion show. Her dress was a masterpiece, black silk, diamond beaded, a flowing African-inspired train. Just minutes before walking, an assistant screamed. The dress had been slashed. The cuts were clean, deliberate, and irreversible. Kaya stared at the ruined gown, her heart pounding. Suddenly, Selena appeared at the door, leaning casually against the frame, smiling with poison. "Well, well, well, isn't it a shame?" she said. "You were almost convincing as a model." Kaya's breath caught in her throat, not in fear, but in realization. "You did this," she whispered. Selena smirked. "Darian belongs with someone of his class, not a roadside girl." Kaya stepped closer, eyes steady. "I may have been on the roadside, but at least I was never cruel." Before Selena could answer, Darian stormed in. Someone had told him what happened. His eyes flicked from the ruined dress to Selena's smug face. "Get out!" His voice shook the room. Selena paled out. "You are really choosing her over me?" Darian stepped beside Kaya, taking her hand. "I'm choosing love over insecurity, character over pride, and dignity over a woman who destroys others because she feels small." Selena swallowed hard. For the first time, her bravado cracked. But she turned and walked out, heels clicking like the last echoes of a life she had just lost forever. The designer scrambled, and within minutes, they hand-stitched a new dress for Kaya. Simple but elegant. When she stepped onto the runway, the crowd gasped. Not because of the dress, because of her. Her confidence lit the room like a supernova. She walked like a woman who had survived storms, who had been broken and rebuilt herself stronger. After the show, Darian took her to the rooftop garden above the venue. The night breeze brushed her skin gently. "Kaya," he said, his voice soft and reverent, "I've never met anyone with your strength, your heart, your courage. I'm the man I am today because of you." Her eyes filled. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You deserve everything." He knelt, pulled out a ring. "Kaya Bright, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Yes," she breathed. "Yes, Darian, I will." He slipped the ring onto her finger. The city lights below seemed to cheer. 6 months later, Kaya walked back into Lumiere luxury, not as the girl behind the counter, but as the woman whose face was now on billboards. Employees gasped. The manager froze, color flooding his cheeks. Kaya smiled warmly. "I came to say thank you," she said. "This place shaped part of my story." She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was a check so large the manager staggered. "For staff welfare, so no one who works hard ever feels small or goes home broken." The employees erupted into cheers. The same place she was once humiliated became the place she returned as a queen. Outside the store, Darian waited. Kaya slipped her hand into his, and for the first time in her entire life, she felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be.
Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. and stay tuned for the next one.